What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the greatest podcast in the world, Shooting the Shit Uncensored. And this is the truth, the dad bod god, the bald, the beard, the beautiful Piers Austin. And tonight we got a special one for you guys. We got Benny the BackRower in the house. But before we get into that amazing conversation, you know I need to take a quick second, a quick pause for the cause to thank our sponsor for the episode, and that is Sleefs.com. That is SLEEFS, Sleefs.com. If someone you know or you yourself is an athlete, go and check out Sleefs.com. They've got all your athletic gear and wear covered. They've got armbands, compression pants, compression shorts, headbands, boots, mouth guards, and they've even got those dirty boxes that you know the dad bod god is always rocking. And let me tell you something about these dirty boxes. They stay dry, they stay fresh, and they've got funky designs on the front that when the belt buckle comes undone at the end of the day, Mrs. Austin is laughing on what's on the front of the boxes and not what's inside them for once in a time. But anyway, go and check out those dirty boxes at Sleefs.com. Use that promo code MWAPOD to get a 10% discount on your final purchase. Hey, and you know what? Wherever you are tuning in, I appreciate it. If you're tuning in on YouTube, like, share, subscribe, hit the fucking bell to stay notified and all that good shit, because you know we're bringing you the best interviews and conversations in professional wrestling, mixed martial arts, boxing, Muay Thai, comedy, music, you name it, we're bringing it to you, baby. So hit that button and tap in. And also, if you're listening on a podcast platform, please give us a 5-star review, because that shit helps with our analytics and it helps us bring more amazing conversations to more amazing people like yourselves. So get to clicking and get to tapping in. But anyway, I've talked enough shit by myself. It's time to get in to our conversation with Benny, the motherfucking BackRower, baby. Yeah! Hey everyone, welcome back to the greatest podcast in the world, Shooting the Shit Uncensored. I am the host, the truth, Piers Austin, and I am joined by Benny, the BackRower. Benny, thank you for joining, man. How are you doing, brother?
Not too bad, man. Thanks for having me.
Man, it's a pleasure to have you on, man. It's, I wanted to sort of, have you on, after, everything that sort of happened recently and, just basically, hear what's sort of going on with you, man, and let you get your story out there, on this platform, and really try and understand, how things are going with you now. And, obviously just have a really good conversation on top of that as well, man. So, man, with everything that's been going on, how are you feeling now? Like, how has the recovery been for you, since the injury?
Yeah, it hasn't been too bad, man. I've just been taking it day by day. Once the surgery happened, it was just from there sort of the long road to get back to normal. Everything's been going really well. So I had the staples out, not the weekend just gone, but the weekend before.
Yeah.
So, and the surgery scar's pretty much healed up now. So I'm healing really well, which is good.
That's good news.
Yeah, back to the surgeon in 3 weeks. So get all the final details then, and hopefully I should be very well on my way to recovery.
Do they think there's a possibility of additional surgeries needed, or is it just sort of a check-in and check-up?
It's just to see if I still need the brace or not. He doesn't think that I will. they were nearly going to let me go without it straight after the surgery, but just for stability reasons, they've told me to keep it on for 6 weeks.
Yeah, sure.
But yeah, they're allowing me to sleep without it now. I had to keep it on the whole time for 3 weeks, and then for these next 3 weeks I can sleep without it. So
Yeah. How does it feel without it?
it's a bit sketchy. After having it for so long, because it's been on for 4 weeks, if you count from like the moment it happened. It definitely feels a bit sketchy when I take it off, but I had to go and get all new pillows and stuff like that have the neck supports in them, just so I can feel comfortable with it. It's
Sure.
yeah, but for the
Yeah.
most part, it's coming good. So
No, that's good, man. So, like, do you feel like in the next 6 weeks or so, like it'll be like you won't need a neck brace at all, or do you feel like it's like something that you're still going to need at certain times?
yeah, I think because I'm getting comfortable with wearing it now, all like most of the time, it'll be a bit sort of shaky once I first take it off. Like I'll probably have that in the back of my head, like that it's sort of made of glass, so to speak. That I don't want to move too much once I've got it off.
Sure. Yeah, and that'll improve with time, I'm sure. Like it's just once the sort of the recovery the process keeps going, and through that as well, like the fact that you can sleep without it off, must be a very good sign as well.
Yeah, and it's heaps easier to get comfortable too.
I can imagine.
With it on it was rough because in the hospital they had me on painkillers to sleep, and
Yeah,
that sort of took out the uncomfortability of the brace. But
sure.
now that I've taken myself off the painkillers for personal reasons, like I don't want to end up in a situation where I am relying on those painkillers to sleep and stuff. So I can
It's
feel a
so
lot
it's
more.
so easy for that to happen as well. Um, like my mum was, before she retired, was a drug and alcohol counselor, and she said the one thing like a lot of people that would go into rehab for was for like killers, and it wasn't for like people that, like, she goes, it'd be people that you would least expect, like the 60-year-old grandmother who, you know what I mean, like who broke
Yeah,
her ankle and was like on pain meds and just like was on them just a little bit too 1 week too long, and then just got this addiction to it. You know what I mean? Like she said, like my mum told me, it was like they're so easy to get addicted to.
oh, definitely. And like I didn't want to risk that because like
Smart.
it's not the way I want to have to live my life if taking painkillers.
Yeah, no, 100%. Especially like, if you don't need them as well. Because I like one of the things that I heard with people that like have had addictions with painkillers is like they start like creating pains, like things start hurting when they don't have them, that like the pain isn't actually there. Like it's certain
Yeah,
things where like, oh yeah, I've got a real, like my back just gets really bad pains and stuff, but there's nothing actually physically wrong with their back.
I think that has a lot to do with habit as well. Like I for
Justification.
yeah for anyone who knows that I love a beer, and because I
That's
haven't been drinking for the last few weeks,
yeah.
like I feel it, like there's been pains and stuff around like my stomach area where body's like, hey, where is it? Like you usually have it. Where
Yeah.
is it? And and I've done well to stay away from it. So that's
Yeah, good on you, man.
yeah. I made the promise to myself that I wouldn't touch it at least until the brace comes off. So it's been good. Like I can feel the health differences already.
Yeah.
Like I'm not, when I wake up, I'm not feeling as sluggish to start my days. Even on days where I wasn't drinking, like because I don't drink through the week for work.
Sure.
Um, I only would have drinks on the weekend. Like
Yeah.
through the week, I just didn't touch it, but I was
Yeah.
still waking up feeling sluggish through the week. Whereas now I'm not feeling that way. I can wake up and start my day nearly straight away. I don't have to spend that half hour of a morning trying to wake up.
Yeah, like I remember like when I was like when I was younger, I went through a stage where I was like, I wouldn't like drink like ridiculous amounts every day, but it's like, you know what I mean, when you're young and you have like maybe 3 or 4 beers a night, you know what I mean? Like you get home from
Yeah,
work, it's the middle of summer, it's like, oh yeah, have a couple beers. And like I did that for like maybe 6 to 8 months, maybe to even longer than a year. And then it was like, number one, the weight that I gained from doing it, but it was just like as soon as I like stopped it, I was like, oh wow, like I'm actually waking up, like I feel fresh in the morning. I'm feeling like, you know what I mean? There's a little bit of an
yeah,
extra pep in my step because that's what like I think alcohol is like it's something that it's more of a depressant, like it brings you and mellows you.
yeah. And that's the thing. So many people do just have that, have those couple of beers after work because like that's the
Yeah,
Australian thing to do. That's just
100%.
what we do after work. But yeah, you don't realize how much it actually affects you until you stop doing it, and
Hmm.
then you start to feel the better. Like I'm the lightest I've been in 2 years. I'm like down to 89 kilos, and
Wow.
I haven't been under 90 kilos in 2 years. So,
Yeah. Right. But
and that's
has your diet and your like eating changed since like what's been going on as well?
not really. The only thing that's really changed is I've more substituted the alcohol for. I've been making like my own fruit smoothies at home instead.
No way. So you've traded the beers for like smoothies for the beers.
Yeah, and that's I imagine that it's helped a lot. Like, yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'll get up of a morning and make a fruit smoothie to start my day, and I get through the day a lot easier.
Mm.
So
Like it's just those little things, man. Like, like before I had kids, like I would do like the whole thing. Like I'd be having the bulletproof coffee every morning with
yeah,
MCT oil with everything. You know what I mean? Like I was like, taking vitamins, training like every single day. And there's like as soon as kids came in the picture and like me and my wife started the family and stuff like that, it's like the gym like 6 days a week now goes down to about maybe 3 to 4 days a week, and then like
yeah,
the other kids come along now that goes down to maybe 1 or 2 days a week to the gym to
yeah,
now. So if I get there a couple of days a fortnight, but
yeah. Kids definitely make it a bit harder to fit those things in. Like I've
100,
got three myself, so
yeah, same
it's
here. How old are yours?
yeah. I've got a 8-year-old, 6-year-old, and a 7-month-old. So
Hey, nice man, nice.
yeah,
So yeah, no, I got a 7-year-old, a 5-year-old, and a 2-year-old. So
the terrible twos.
yeah, oh
It's a
mate,
fun
like
time.
dude, I gotta tell you, like our youngest, if he was our first, he would have been our last. Like we would have gone nut.
Yeah,
Like, but you know what I mean? Like our other kids, like when they were that age, they could chill and just like sit back and relax from time to time. But like our youngest, just there's like he's either 100 or sleeping. Like there's no
yeah,
in between with him. You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
I think it's
That's
always the youngest that's like that though.
definitely, definitely. Like I was the youngest, and I was a little rat bag as a kid.
I was the oldest, and I was the little rat bag as a kid. Still, I to be honest, if you ask some people, I probably still am, right? So,
It's all a matter of opinion, I guess.
hey, man, yeah, exactly, man. But that's exactly it, man. But dude, like, let's get into it, man. Like, how did you like actually break into the business? Because I want to get, I think I want to come, like, we'll come back to the injury stuff, and like I
Yeah,
said, this is more of like a conversation. Like, we're just gonna like I don't know, man. We just come on here, we bullshit, we go back and forth. But I kind of want to like sort of just get a little bit of a better understanding about you. Like how did you like originally break into the business and how did you get your start in wrestling?
that's good, man. Well, I wanted to do this since I was like 4 year old. Like I loved it.
Yeah.
Like I used to sit up with dad, watch all the pay-per-views and stuff. And as I got older, like I didn't really know that Australian wrestling was a thing, so I didn't really think of it as much of a chance.
Mm.
And I played football for 16 years, and I actually through a friend that I played football with, I met a Suplex fan she goes to every Suplex show,
Yeah.
and we got to talking about it. And she's like, "Oh yeah, they hold tryouts. They've got one coming up in November. This was in 2019. And I was like, oh, yeah, cool. And she sent me the link to it. So I went along to it and had an absolute ball, loved it. Obviously, with my sporting background, I took to it pretty quickly. Like,
Sure.
I only had my last season that year, so I was still in like seasonal shape, ready. You know. And yeah, I loved it and picked it up really quickly because like I used to wrestle around with my mates in the backyard when I was younger, so I had a small idea of what I was already doing. Not, I wouldn't say I was, we were safe. Like 16-year-old kids wrestling in the backyard never really is, but
Yeah, I can imagine.
but yeah, no, it was more when I first started. For me, it was more learning the safe ways to do things. Like I already had an idea how to do, a suplex and a scoop slam and all that sort of stuff. But it was like learning the basics of, bumping, rolling, tying up, the different holds you can get to from a tie up, and then the safe way of doing moves. Because like, as I said, growing up, watching it pretty much my whole childhood, I already had a small idea of how to do things. It was just perfecting those and getting to a point where I could do them safely without risking injury.
Yeah. Like, do you like? We heard like in a recent podcast that I did with Tyler Gunn. He talked about the safety of Suplex's training and the quality of Suplex's training, and he didn't have many positive things to say about that. Like, I mean, like, yeah, we spoke about this earlier before we started recording, and like I've heard like similar things from multiple people, and some credible people in the industry as well with some background, and they say some very similar things.
Well,
your honest opinion, are they wrong? Like what is
I
it
think they are.
Okay.
Yeah, I think they are. So we've just brought in a new trainer as well. Like we've got She Wolf training people there. She's very capable of what she does. She's an amazing talent. And she's taken the time out of her weeks to train people now. So, and she's phenomenal with the basics. Like she's brought a lot of guys up to scratch with the basic side of things so far, and she just keeps progressing them and getting them better and better. There's guys there that are training now that are only trainees. They're not on shows yet. They're not doing anything like that, and some of them are better at the basics than I've seen on plenty of shows. Like their basics are just because she won't move on until they've perfected it. Like they've gotten the best possible outcome out of it. Like it's the training there's a lot better than people are giving it credit for.
Okay. No, look, I like because I saw the sort of exchange that was on Instagram, and I was like, you know what, I wanted to give someone who's obviously trained through a suplex and been there since like 2019. So you've been there for multiple years. So like, you know what I mean? Like I wanted to get your honest opinion of it. You know what I mean? Like, why is it these people now have these negative things to say about it all the time? Like what? Like where does this negativity come from? Like, can you help me understand that?
I think like because there have been a few that have been on the shows that probably could be better. But once again, they're working on it. They're trying to get there. They're on shows to get that experience in front of a crowd. Like their basics can be better, but they've gotten to the stage where they're good enough to work in front of a crowd and get that experience. But they just need to keep pushing and getting better. Like Tyler brought up a good point the other night, that the guy that he said about having cerebral palsy. Now, you wouldn't tell that he's got it. If he walked up and shook your hand and said, "Hey, mate, how you going?" You wouldn't even know. I didn't know until I was told.
Right.
And I'd known him for a couple of months before I was told, and I was like, no, he doesn't. Like, I was like, he's like,
But is he? But like, regardless of the cerebral palsy, is he a safe worker?
yeah, I've worked with him a couple of times, and I've never had an issue. Like I said, his basics can be brought up a bit, and we're working on it with him. We're doing what we can to improve it, but like his cerebral palsy does not hold him back.
No. Well, look,
He's
yeah, I mean, it depends on the level of how bad someone's cerebral palsy is. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, you know, Tyler's giving his opinion of someone as a worker who
yeah,
has cerebral palsy, and you know, like, I don't want to go back and quote word for word because I don't want to misquote anyone, because it's like I don't remember every single word someone says on a podcast, but it was along the lines of, I think he was not safe, or his work wasn't good, or something along the lines of that.
yeah,
So
no, he's well, as I say, his work can be better, but we're working on that. You know, we're working with him at training and trying to show him where he's lacking essentially, and what we can do to try and help him bring that up. But yeah, he's very capable. Definitely capable of doing it.
one of the things I found, I was contacted, and I'm not sure if you would even know this or be privy to this, but I was told that a veteran with very, very high credentials, who has trained under some very, very high level people and has wrestled at a very high level internationally, went to Suplex and said, "Hey, I'd like to come here and train your guys." And because his expectation, like from what I was told by not him, but by someone else, it was he was a bit too harsh on people, and people didn't like it when it was like he was telling them how it is and telling him how to do things properly, and people got like a bit upset about that. I'm not sure if you're aware of that or not. So like I'm just putting it out there. I'm not trying to throw names and put anyone under the bus here. So I'm just sort of asking you, were you aware of that? And I can sort of go a bit more and give you more information if you need to about who it is. But like, is that something that you're aware of?
Yeah, I know who you're talking about. Look, I personally enjoyed his training.
Yeah.
I was very happy to pick his brain. He trained at the Heart Dungeon.
Yeah, that's who we're
You know,
talking about.
like that's
Yeah.
that's a pretty big deal. The
For real.
the problem a lot of people had with it was the way he trained people was probably very similar to how he trained back when he trained at the Heart Dungeon, which was 30, 40 years ago. The business has evolved a lot since then. Like it's not the same thing. Um, People don't respond as well to that kind of training anymore. Like,
I mean, I think I mean, it depends. And I've had this conversation with other people about training, and it's like certain training works for some people, and certain, like, what I mean is like certain coaching works for some people, and a different style of coaching will work for others. So you know what I mean? Like you train there, and like who's someone else that's trained with you? Let's say Matt Gage. He was a guy
yeah,
that came up with Suplex, right? So you guys, two completely different individuals, right? Two completely different people. So what someone's like, say one coach could be like a real strict hard ass, which you might turn around and go, you know what, I fucking resonate with this shit. This shit gets the best out of me. Where like Matt Gage would go, man, you know what, that's not my kind of style. But someone going, hey man, look, you're doing this really well, but you know, someone who would be a little bit more like gentle in their deliverance. Like some
yeah,
people work well to different things. Some people work well with someone who's like fired up and in their face and pushing him, and other people, feel, progress better in a different way where someone sort of is a little bit more gentler in the deliverance of it.
yeah, definitely. Like I said, when I went to a couple of his sessions, and I could handle it, but I know that there was a lot of guys there that don't like being like spoken to in that sort of way, and treated like that, essentially. Like they do need that kind of sort of reinforcement. Whereas, like, I played football for 16 years. I played at rep levels. I have had that style of training before, and it does bring
100%.
it does
100%.
bring the mongrel out in you. Like it does. If you've got the right mindset for it, it will fire you up to do better. But if
Yeah.
you haven't had that, and then you come in as an adult and get it, you're going to take it as disrespect.
You know what, you can, but like, like, dude, I've trained in the fight game across MMA, boxing, and Muay Thai when I was younger.
Yeah.
And a lot of the training, bro, like there ain't very many, like even now, like I don't think there'd be too many very gentle trainers. In the times I trained in multiple different places all around the world, like, bro, I probably had one guy that was probably like a gentle enough trainer where he was just more softly spoken and more chill than the rest who were just like fucking angry, you know what I mean, or presented that way. But that was just, to me, like, I always found like comfort in that sort of stuff because I was like, all right, motherfucker, I'm gonna push myself harder to fucking like show you cunt, like, let's go.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like people can take that as like that, or they can sort of close off and go, nah, this ain't for me, and can take it as disrespect.
Well, I think the issue with it too was like it was the like rookies that were just starting out
Yeah.
as well. Like, they didn't really get an introduction to the business sort of thing. Like someone like me who's been around for a couple of years, who knows, okay, yes, I need to be at that level because that's the level I need to be at to compete. I can sort of resonate with it, whereas they're sort of just they're only just dipping their toes in it at the moment. Like they're learning to bump and roll and trying to get the basics down. Whereas he was more advanced
Yeah.
with the way he was trying to train them, and like
So you
that
think
would
he
have
would
been,
have been? Do you think he would have been better off like teaching like an advanced class of like guys and
yeah,
current guys and people that were out there consistently wrestling on shows?
yeah, definitely,
Mm.
definitely.
Yeah. Like
Um,
what was it? Do you like what was he saying, things that were inappropriate, or was it just things that were just nasty? Like what was it that
um,
he was saying that upset people?
there was no real sort of constructive criticism. It just sort of more felt like criticism to a lot of the guys. Like instead of saying, "Hey, this is what you're doing wrong. This is how you fix it," it was just, "That was wrong. That was wrong. Try again. That was wrong. Try again."
Mm.
Instead of going, "Well, this is what you need to do to fix it," and teaching them how to fix the mistake or the issue, he was just telling them that it was wrong.
Sure.
And it was just getting a lot of people frustrated because it's like, well, okay, it was wrong. How do I fix it?
Did anyone ask that?
That's a good question. I never sort of had that
That's
issue.
because if I was there and someone said what you're doing's wrong over and over again, my response would be, well, how do I do it right? Show me,
Yeah,
please.
and that's a fair point. Like I don't know if anyone asked that because, like from my point of view, if he'd said that to me, I generally knew what he was getting at.
Yeah.
Like I sort of already knew that I'd made the mistake before he told me because I was like, yeah, like it'd just be something little that I could fix up.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you were experienced, like obviously at the time to sort of know when you do it, and I feel like when you have had a level of experience of certain things, you sort of as like even almost as you're done, you're like, fuck, I did that fucking wrong, or
Yeah.
I mean, I missed the thing there or whatever. But like, did he like understand the level that these people were at, or was he just sort of coming in not knowing how long these people are training? Because it's like,
I don't think he fully got it. Like I think he thought he was coming to work in with a lot of people who were, at my level, or that had been there for a couple of years and were just still figuring out how to roll on and keep a steady pace going and stuff like
Sure.
that. So he like I said, I found him helpful when I was going there when he was training.
Yeah.
He was really good with chain and stuff. That was the sort of thing that I was getting out of him, because I was pretty rough with chain to begin with. I wasn't very good with it. that was something that I knew that I had to improve within myself. And when he started training, that's what I was picking his brain about, like how can I get better at this? Like what's
That's
some things that I can do?
that's part of, like, his wheelhouse of how good of a worker he was is around chain wrestling in that sort of style. But I think regardless, I think that comes down to it of being some people that can resonate with other sort of styles and of coaching and vice versa. But with yourself and going in, like, to me, like the deathmatch style of wrestling that we sort of see, and like I've sort of, like, I used to be a fan of deathmatch wrestling, believe it or not. I used to actually really enjoy it. I find now deathmatch wrestling is something that I don't enjoy that much anymore. I don't know if it's just something I've grown out of, but I just, when I watch it, like, and what I see now is like there's no one that can really, like, I feel like there's no wrestling. It's just like trying to fuck each other up, and like there's no actual real storytelling in a match for me. Like, it's just like belting the shit out of each other with light tubes and stuff like that. Like, what's your take on deathmatch wrestling? Like, I know you've done a few deathmatch wrestling shows and matches yourself.
Yep.
I haven't seen them, but I know you've been in them. I've seen a few suplex death matches and stuff like that. But like, what's your take on deathmatch wrestling and the whole thing? Because you've been in the middle of it, you've done it. Do you feel like the deathmatch scene, let's say here in Australia, that am I wrong? Is there like a lot more good workers in deathmatch wrestling, or am I just looking at it in a different light?
I wouldn't say you're wrong. Like, it's your opinion. At the end of the
Sure.
day, if that's how you feel, that's completely up to you. Like I'm not going to come in and try and tell you how to feel about it. Like
Oh,
that's
no, but I'm
yeah.
saying, like, am I wrong in saying, like, I
But
don't think there's good workers in deathmatch wrestling?
yeah, I think there
I don't
is.
think there's many. I don't think there's
Yeah,
many. I think there is some, but I don't think there's many. But sorry, I don't mean to interrupt.
that's right. Yeah, no, in my opinion, that there is. There's some absolutely fantastic workers in deathmatch wrestling here in Australia. Um, you see quite a few here in Newcastle that are up and coming. Um, like it is hard to work like a really good story into what we do, like without the ring and stuff.
Mm.
Because there isn't much bumping or anything like that. Like, but we try and do our best to tell a story. Like it is a much harder thing to do without a ring.
Mm.
Um, Funnily enough, I've only wrestled one death match in a ring.
Really?
Yeah, and that was in Queensland. That wasn't even here. That was actually for a joint venture between Nightfall and Venom Pro Wrestling in Queensland.
Yeah, right.
Um, every other death match I've worked in the pit. I was actually looking forward to getting to work another death match in the ring at DMDU, but that just wasn't to be.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, there's plenty of talents like Jackson Spade. He in the death match, like in a ring, phenomenal. Like he knows how to tell a story in the ring. Even in the pit, like him and I had an absolute like banger in the pit that got me recognized. That's the match that probably got me recognized for DMDU. Um,
Yeah.
like you've got Charlie Evans. Charlie Evans is she does it internationally. That's how good she is at it. We've got a lot of up and comers coming through too, like Metal Corey. He's absolutely phenomenal. He's one crazy dude. You got Zero. Like I could rattle off a list of names and probably talk about it all night. But I think there is, like, it can be better, but so can everything else, sort of thing. Like, there's always room for improvement.
There
And
definitely is, man.
I feel like each show is getting better, because when we started these pit shows, there was only, I think, 2 wrestlers who had done death matches before. So I think that it was a card of 3 or 4 matches, and only 2 workers had done death matches before. You know, the rest of us put our hands up and wanted to do it, but it's hard to teach people. You know, this is a good way to sort of do it when the number of people who are figuring out what they want to do is higher than the people who have already done it.
Yeah.
Like, my first 2 death matches were against Reverend Diath, and that was also his first 2 death matches.
Yeah.
You know, my next one was against Spade, and I learned a lot from that. Like, once I jumped in the pit with Spade, and we started to develop a story and tell it, I was like, oh yeah, so this is an easier way to sort of, and it's much easier when you're telling a story too, because you're not taking as much. Like, when it was me and Rev the first 2 times, we were just like, all right, one thing after the other, just grabbing things and hitting each other with it. But then I jumped in with Spade, who knows what he's doing, and it slowed down a lot. Like, it wasn't just bashing each other with stuff. Like, we went to war with each other. Like, that was the one that Tyler was talking about the other night, where I ended up in an ambulance. But like, it did slow down. I didn't take anywhere near as much, like, weapons to the body. I just took one big one that happened to send me to hospital, and it was just to get a couple of stitches.
That's the thing, man. Like, wrestling shouldn't be sending you to the hospital. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's where I look at deathmatch wrestling now. Maybe I don't know, man. Maybe I'm like old. Maybe I'm an old man, but I look at it as like, bro, like, you shouldn't. At the end of the show, bro, like, no one should be going to the hospital, bro. Like that, you know what I mean? Like, no one should be going through what you've gone through. No, like, everyone should be walking out the door of that venue the same way that they walked in. You know what I mean? And that's where it's like deathmatch wrestling, like, the payoff for it, bro. Like, I don't get why people would want to fuck themselves up and permanently scar themselves for $80. You know what I mean? Like, I don't like that. And then, like I said, it's like, I've seen some death matches where, like, things can be told in really good stories. Like, a Matt Tremont is really good. I've seen Mad Dog, Crackerjack. You know what I mean?
Joel Bateman.
Yeah, I wouldn't go that far, but, like, okay, like, you know what I mean? Like, there are some certain people out there, bro, that I would say yes, but, like, you know what I mean? Like, for the majority that I have seen, and that's what's really sort of turned me off death matches in the last couple of years, is just the sort of the stuff that I've seen is like, you know, like, if I watch a death match, it's going to be a particular worker I know that can, like, work really, really well, that I enjoy. Other than that, like, now it's like the stuff that I've seen, it's just turned me off.
Yeah, that's fair enough, man. Like, it's also sometimes hard to get in there and do it when, like, the crowd, they're screaming for you just to belt each other. Like, that's what they're paid to see. Like, you get in there,
alcohol's flowing in them. You know what I mean? Like, they've had a few beers by the time you get out there, so they're, like, fired up and want to see you fuck someone up and get fucked up, right?
Yeah, like, they cheer for it. Like, when I was walked out of the building to go get in the back of an ambulance, the whole crowd chanted my fucking name as I walked out. Like, there was a whole nother match going on, and I walked out the side to leave to go get stitches, and the whole crowd turned and chanted my name as I left.
How badly were you fucked up? How badly were you diced up?
Not real bad. There was just one sort of, so the finish to the match, it's on YouTube.
Yeah.
I got powerbombed through a shower screen. And, like, usually when you go through one of those, they sort of explode and disperse, and you sort of just land comfortable, not comfortably, but land on the ground. Well, something ended up underneath me when I landed, and it just sort of tore through my back a bit. And I just had to go and get, I think I got like 4 or 5 stitches. And like I was back at the shed ready to help pack up before the boys even got there. Like I
Jeez.
wasn't there long.
Damn, bro. Like, clearly you're one of those just tough motherfuckers that just like bounces straight back. Like, yeah, I mean, I'm sure there'd be a lot of people going, oh man, I had to go get stitches. Yeah, like, I can't do, I'm going to have to peace out on ring crew tonight, brother.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a good excuse, but
Hey, man, hey, it's a well deserved one, really. But,
yeah,
you know, like, yeah, look, man, and that's where it is, man. Like, I don't really want to sit there and like negatively like bash deathmatch wrestling. Like I said, what I've said is just my opinion. So anyone who's watching this, I'm not trying to attack it. I'm just, like I said, stating an opinion of what I see. And it's like, you know what I mean? Maybe it's like I said, maybe it's just the fact it ain't my flavor of ice cream, and that's cool. If it's yours, hey, best of luck to you, man. Like whatever it is, as long as
yeah,
you guys can do it safely. And that's where I kind of look into it as like deathmatch wrestling. If it can be done like an illusion, like pro wrestling is supposed to be, fucking oath, go do it. You know what I mean? But if you're going out there and you have to go get stitches and like every time you go into the hospital and shit like that, that's
yeah.
I don't know,
Well,
man.
yeah,
That's not wrestling. You know what I mean?
that's yeah. That's the only time I've ever had to. Like,
Yeah.
I wrestled Guido at the start of the year, in a death match, and it was fine. Like,
Yeah.
it looked messed up because
Mm.
like my shoulder from like here down was just blood, but it
Yeah.
looked really bad. But I got backstage, got cleaned up, and they're like, no, there's a couple little superficial cuts, but apart from that, like you're fine. You just bled a little bit, like it. And I walked out of that 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 show fine. Like I just
Yeah.
like you just when you do play with that sort of stuff, there is always going to be a risk.
Mm.
Um, one night it didn't go in my favor. The next night it did.
Yeah.
Like it, and we got good reactions from the crowd. Like they enjoyed it, which is the main thing for us, I suppose. Like apart from safety and people walking out,
Sure.
but like we have a red hot crowd at most of those explicit shows.
Mm.
They seem to enjoy what we do, and that's what we're aiming for.
Sure. 100%. What you know, moving into um what sort of went down at the sorry, NCPW, is that the
Yeah,
promotion? Like,
yeah,
okay, so NCPW, you're wrestling a guy who is from Queensland, wrestles as Cobra Jones,
yeah,
set you up to do a vertebraker, and effectively like turning your entire world upside down. And like I said, I'm not like trying to point like blame here or say like he's just done this and everything to you, whatever it is. But like I'm not trying to sort of like point blame here or anything like that. But like this match happened, Cobra Jones hits you with a vertebraker, and like I said, turns your world upside down. Yo,
yeah,
what was going through your mind like laying there? Because like I saw the footage and I saw the photos following that of you laying there, and I told you before this, bro, like my heart broke for you because regardless of promotions and all that bullshit, it's like, I mean, you're still a human being involved in something that we all love, right? So
yeah,
you're still in this thing that we are all involved in and that we all love. So regardless of all that other like nonsensical shit, it comes down to a human level. And I think it hit a lot of people, bro. Like I'll be real with you. But how were you feeling? Like, what was going through your mind in that moment after that happened? Like after it
oh,
happened, what
I,
was going?
I was absolutely shitting myself. Like
Yeah,
I knew that there was something wrong. Like I felt the crack, I heard it, and like the instant pain, I knew. I was like, this isn't good.
Mm.
The first thing I did was like close my hands just like that, just to make sure that I could still move.
Yeah, yeah.
I wiggled my feet a bit just to make sure. I was like, okay, so I've still got movement, I've still got feeling. Right, that's a positive. Like if you watch the clip, you'll notice I've already said something to him straight away, because the way he covers me, it was
Mm.
very very soft, and like you can see him sort of grab my head and try and stabilize me a bit when he done it. So you know he probably felt bad pretty straight away,
Mm.
knowing that it didn't go to plan. But yeah, it was definitely a heavy amount of fear. Like I had my young fella with me who's 6.
Oh shit.
You know, like he didn't see it, thank God, but because the way their locker room is, like the locker room was upstairs and he was up there with the other workers while I was in the ring. So he didn't see it happen. He just he only knew about it because they drove him to a hospital,
Oh
and then
jeez.
he came in and seen me, which probably wasn't the best for him. He was off for a couple of weeks after that until I went and seen him. So like he's all good now, but
I'm so sorry,
yeah,
mate. Yeah, that's terrible. Like it's one thing like to go through something like that, but to have like your kid with you as well, like that would be even like more emotionally like, you know what I mean?
yeah,
Like as a parent, like I can sort of like understand, like, because you know what I mean? Like as a dad, you want to be Superman to your kids, right? Like
yeah,
like you know what I mean?
definitely.
You want to be that hero, like, and especially being like the fact that you can go out there and like dad's a pro wrestler, man. You know what I mean? Like that's the sort of shit that really sort of makes those kids even more proud and stuff of what you
Oh,
do, bro. But
definitely. Like
as a dad, like you want to be that Superman for the kids, bro.
yeah, and he loved coming to watch me wrestle and stuff. Like he was there when I won my first championship, and he loved it. Like when I walked out to the crowd with the belt, and he lost his mind. He thought it was the coolest thing ever that Dad had this big shiny thing. But yeah, no, definitely that also ran through my head. That was the first thing I said to one of the boys when they come to check on me, was make sure he stays upstairs.
Mm.
Don't bring him down to see me laying like this, because he will freak out. Like
Of
he's got
course.
autism. He's got autism as well. So
Oh shit,
like,
yeah.
that if he'd come down and see me laying there and not moving, like
Oh
his
yeah.
first thought, yeah, I definitely didn't want him to freak out.
Regardless, any 6-year-old like with autism or not, like with autism, it's like a next level. But it's like any 6-year-old would be like freaked out, like, you know what I mean? At such a young age, like, you know what I mean? Like, I think any kid, like, like, I think even at my age,
Yeah,
if I walked out and saw my dad laying there like that, it's anyone you care about, especially your parent. But mate, that's rough. I'm sorry to hear that.
yeah, no, that's all good. Like he's fine now. Like I had him again. My partner come and stayed with me last weekend, like the weekend of my charity show,
Oh,
so
that's
I could have him. I could have him Friday night, because at the moment I can't really have him overnight on my own, due
yeah.
to there's a lot of things I still can't quite do. Um, but yeah, she came over and I had him overnight, and he's back to normal now. Like he just thinks I'm fine. He's still trying to rough me up when he could.
That's good, man. That's good to hear, bro.
Yeah.
But like with the incident that went down, like what like walk me through it, because I saw the incident, as I said to you, bro, and one of the things that we talked about backstage is like it got set up, like you went up for it, but it's like it's almost like you didn't have a really enough time to tuck your chin and really get ready for what was coming, like that vertebrae move. Have you had you taken a move like that before, bro?
So I'd never taken a vertebraker before, but obviously, like I'd seen it, and I was confident in my ability to do it, like to get myself into the right position. I watched Cobra do it on someone that day, because he done it to show me. Um, and after watching it, I was like, yeah, I can do that. And See, the difference between when he showed me to when he done it to me was when he showed me, he didn't go as quick. Like he got all made up and held him up for a minute, and old mate had time to adjust to where he was, like where he needed to be. The incident, he didn't really give me any time. It was just very rushed. If I'd had the time to adjust myself, we probably wouldn't be sitting here having this conversation. It was just very rushed. I'm not sure if he panicked thinking that I wasn't going to get to where I needed to be, and he just sort of went to try and salvage it or anything. But it didn't feel right from the get-go. Like, because we done it earlier in the night too, but the first one I floated over onto my feet, and it felt fine then. His positioning was better, whereas when he went for it, where it was actually going to be the finish, his positioning was different. His head wasn't in the same spot. So when he done it for me to float over, his head was sort of more like between my legs, where I would have been, straight on back like that. Whereas when he lifted to hit it, I was more off to the side, so it was harder for me to adjust my positioning. But then I didn't have the time to do that anyway.
Like, hindsight being 2020, like looking back at it now, like if someone was to say to you to do a move that you hadn't done at training before, would you still do it?
No. So that was probably the harshest way to learn that lesson. It's not just ended my career. It's changed how I'm going to live the rest of my life. Like, I'm only 28, and I've still got 40 odd years of work left that I have to do.
100%. What did you do? What do you do for a shoot job, if you don't mind me asking?
That's fine. I work with Ramondas as a recycling hand. So my section recycles coffee pods, like used coffee pods. We separate the aluminium from the coffee, and then the aluminium gets recycled, and the coffee gets used as compost.
Okay.
So, and I don't know what the chances are of me being able to go back to that. Like, they've told me that my spot's safe, even though I'm only a casual. They're willing to work with me and bring me back on as soon as I feel capable to come back, which is really good.
That's great.
Been lucky with that one. They've got other jobs that they can put me on if need be, that they've offered me if I can't go back to what I used to do full time. But
it's good that they're willing to to sort of help you out and sort of not leave you in the, you know what I mean? Because that's probably the major thing as well. Like, having like your livelihood jeopardized is like.
Oh yeah, that was probably one of my biggest concerns. Like, when I was laying in hospital over that weekend where I'd done it, like the Sunday was like, fuck, what am I going to do about work? Like, how am I going to tell them that I've broken my neck? Essentially, I can't. There goes my job. And I told them, and they were like, "Oh, it's cool, mate. Like, take your time and recover, and we'll sort of see where we're at." And then I think it was the Thursday after surgery, I got a call from my supervisor, and I thought, "Oh, here we go. Like, there's my job gone." And I answered it, and he basically was just calling me to tell me, like, you've still got a job. Like, don't stress. Take your time. Recover. And we'll be here waiting. Like, you're safe.
Oh man, that must have been a massive relief, though.
Oh, huge relief. Like, I can't thank him enough for being patient through this. Like, essentially what they would consider a hobby.
Mm.
Like to them, it's just a hobby of mine, not something that I
Yeah.
wanted to pursue. Like they wouldn't look at it like that. So for
Yeah.
them to sit there and go, well, he's fucked himself up doing his hobby. Most places probably would have terminated me and said, look, sorry, but we're a business. We've got to keep rolling.
Yeah. 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 I
Whereas,
mean, yeah, it's unfortunate, man, how some businesses just really react, bro. Like, they just sort of treat people like they're a number. But it sounds like, you got a really good sort of thing going with where you're working, and like they're giving you that sort of little bit of, breathing room to really sort of recover. Because the other, side of it as well, you don't want to force yourself back to doing things that you shouldn't really be doing so soon and risk re-injuring yourself either.
yeah, definitely. Like at the moment, I have a weight lift limit. Like I'm not allowed to lift over 5 kilos.
Yeah,
So
well,
I'm not sure if that'll probably get spoken about when I go back to see the surgeon in a few weeks.
yeah.
I imagine that'll probably stay intact for a while due to like the ligament damage that's being done as well. Like I had a brief look over the paperwork just before this, so I could know exactly what what I was talking about. And so there are fractures to the C4 and C5. They fused the C4, C5, and C6 together,
Mm.
and there's also ligament damage down the left side. So
Looking at everything that you've sort of gone through with this injury and the move that took it, do you do you do you blame Cobra Jones at all for this? Like, do you feel he's the one that is at fault at all this after after you've seen it? Do you feel like it's a 50-50 thing? Do you feel like you're at fault? Like, I don't want to say blame, because I feel like blame is because I don't really feel like it wasn't intentional. Like, if it's an
yeah,
intentional, then it's like, yeah, blame you, that motherfucker right there. But I feel like
yeah,
this was just a fault of someone, not something that was an intentional to go out and severely hurt you or someone.
yeah. Well, I think here I'll actually agree with what Tyler said the other night. Like it's more of a 50-50 thing. Like I'd never
Mm.
taken the move before. I probably should have said no. But in my circumstance, like I watched him do the move and I felt comfortable with him doing it. I felt like
Yeah.
it would be okay. I feel like he's got some of the fault because like he rushed it, he didn't take his time. Like the vertebrae is a two-step move, and
Yeah.
there's no way around that. You have to take both steps and to ensure that no one gets hurt.
Mm.
And I feel like he didn't. He rushed it, and this was the consequence from it being rushed. Like when I seen him do it, it was two steps. He got old mate up. Old mate had time to position himself, and then he dropped. Um, with me, there was no two steps. Like it was, I wasn't even fully up before he went.
Mm.
Like I was still trying to get myself over and vertical before, like as he was going. Um, and I just feel like he could have taken his time a lot more with the move. But yeah, as I said, at the same time, I probably should have not agreed to take it in the first place. Having not done it before.
Yeah. I
Um,
mean, yeah. I mean, like it's easy to say back to say should have, would have, could have. You know what I mean? Like it's,
yeah,
you know what I mean. But I just think like from this for other wrestlers that are out there, like people that are like coming, like up and comers that are out there as well, or people that are sort of starting to be on shows, or even like veteran workers that have been on shows for a long time. It's like, sometimes just have to say no to a spot, regardless of what someone wants you to do or how much they try and push. You just have to say no, and I think have that sort of that moment of clarity. And I think something like this is a big eye opener for a lot of people as well, man.
Definitely. It's unfortunate that it had to come to something like this.
Agree.
But the silver lining of it now is, people are going to look at this when someone suggests the move and go, probably not. And it might even be because of this that you'll see a lot of rookies now stand up to veterans and go, I'm not taking that. I don't want to end up in that position. Because that's another big stigma. It's like, I was still a rookie. Like, I'd been around for a couple of years, but compared to a lot of the guys that we do have here, I've barely been here. And it as a rookie, it is harder to turn around to someone who's been around for 15, 20 years and say, no, I don't want to do that. I mean, it's easy to do when you're against someone who's been around for a similar amount of time, but when 100%. You've got someone like that, it's hard to, because then you feel like you're disrespecting them as well by saying no. Like, in that situation specifically, like for me to turn around and say no to Cobra, that was his finisher. Yeah, so that's a move that he has used for quite a while as a finishing move. And in that situation where I probably, I didn't want to disrespect him. So I'm like, yeah, I can take that. Like,
let me ask you this: were either of you gassed at that time when you went up for that move?
No, I was. He seemed okay.
Yeah.
And I felt fine. Like, we didn't have a really fast paced match.
Sure.
Like, we went for about 10 minutes or so, but
yeah. I ask because I ask because I've only seen the clip of the vertebraker. I hadn't seen the match in its entirety. That's why I just wanted to know, like, if that was like I mean, like, I'm just trying to think, was it like a tiredness thing? Was it just like, you know what I mean? Like, had you guys gone through deep in that match, could that have been like part of it?
Yeah, no, that's a fair question, but yeah, no, I don't think he was. Like, I felt fine. I definitely worked like much quicker paced matches and that. Like, him and I are sort of, well, not bigger guys, but we not small guys either. Whereas, like, here at Suplex, I've worked a lot of smaller guys where the match is go, 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 go. So to have actually gone up there and worked someone like Cobra, where the pace is a bit slower, it was more of a relief to begin with.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Being able to slow down and take some time with it and just soak it in. Enjoy the match.
Yeah. I mean, like, like, that's the thing. Like, you talk about the veteran, of 15 years and you being in the business for a couple of years and going up and saying that, though. Like, I feel like, I mean, like, the veterans that I know in the business, they would probably respect someone more if they said, hey, man, I've never trained how to do this. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, and it sounds like you went over the move like a couple of times. You took the move earlier in the day and, like, you felt comfortable enough to do it. So, like, you know what I mean? Like, I think it comes down to the decisions as well. But, like regardless of that, man, like, I feel like that veterans, any veteran out there who would get offense to someone saying, hey, I don't feel comfortable taking that. I mean, I don't know. It's indie wrestling, man. Like, for, I mean, like, for fuck's sake, like, no one's like, no one in the audience going, oh man, he pinned that guy without hitting his finish. Is like reality. 9 times out of 10, the fans probably aren't even going to know what the fuck his finish is.
Yeah, well, that's also true as well. Yeah, that's a fair point. It's just a stigma that I think a lot of us newer guys coming through have.
Yeah.
Like, that guy's been around for a while. We should listen and do what he sort of says.
Yeah, no.
But hopefully this is an incident that's broken that for a
I
lot of
think
guys.
I think it probably has, man.
Like, because the last thing we want to see is another person end up like me or worse.
100%.
You know,
And like that's like even like your situation is like the worst thing that anyone could even really imagine happening. You know what I mean? Like that is like one of the like, you know what I mean? Like I know, like I don't want to downplay this at all, bro. Like at all. Like this is life change, like change your whole life, bro. Like everything is just sort of like happen here, and it's like I don't want to disrespect it by downplaying it, but I think this has to be an eye changer for a lot of people.
definitely. Like I'm very lucky in the way like I can still walk and do all that stuff. Like the surgeons look when I got to Newcastle, because they flew me from Newcastle from Port Macquarie. When they looked at my all the scans of my neck, they were surprised that I could still move. They they didn't think that I should be able to. They thought that there was enough damage there that I would have been a quadriplegic. So
Fuck.
the fact that I could still get up and move around, and like it shocked the surgeons. So yeah,
That's
definitely.
that's incredibly, yeah, like dude, like you're incredibly lucky in a lot of senses as well, man. But like I said, I'm not trying to downplay this shit at all, bro, because it's horrendous. But like, yeah, man, like you are lucky in a lot of senses as well, man, because it could be a lot worse off, you know.
Definitely. And realistic, it's lucky in the way of this being an eye opener for so many people.
Yeah.
That realistic, once I heal up, apart from not being able to wrestle, not being able to do sports and stuff, I've really come out of this relatively unscathed. Like once this heals up, like I'll still be able to go to the park with my kids. I'll still be able to, work for the most part. And like I'll still be able to do most things that I was able to do. So for this to be an eye opener, I think it's a pretty lucky situation, because like my life is going to go relatively back to normal once I've healed up.
Yeah, it is, man.
So I've been very lucky with that, and I feel like it's also lucky for Australian wrestling that that's how it's going to be. Because if it was worse, then it probably would have caught the attention of authorities and news and stuff like that, and Australian wrestling would be a lot harder place to be involved in.
Yeah. I mean, and that's where like my take with the deathmatch shit as well. Like, I feel like there's going to come down to a point where like something crazy and like someone's going to do something without the proper like knowledge or know-how or training or whatever it may be. And I'm not saying this at any particular promotion, bro. I'm saying this in general. And I feel like that could also end up impacting in a negative way the business overall. And that's where I feel like for the most part is like in your case as well, man, like if you did sort of any worse, and it could have definitely sort of impacted, I feel like the wrestling landscape in this country for sure.
Yeah, definitely. So we've been all pretty lucky, I guess, in that sense. Like it's for the most part, it's like it's a serious injury, but
Sure, yeah.
For the most part, I've come out of it the best I possibly can.
Yeah, man.
Yeah,
And you know what, bro, you seem very positive about it as well. Like you don't really seem like too down in the dumps. I don't know. Like, is that the way to put it? Like you seem pretty upbeat like
yeah,
throughout
well,
this, to be honest.
yeah, definitely. Like I just look at it as like I'm still able to walk. I'm still able to play around with my kids. Like I can still do most of my day-to-day stuff, even at the moment with the brace on and stuff. A lot of my normal day-to-day stuff I can still do. Yeah, I mean, like I've been very fortunate for it to be like that.
Yeah,
Like
for real.
when you hear broken neck, you assume paraplegic, quadriplegic.
Mm.
You assume that that's the outcome. And when I was able to move, I even doubted that I may have a broken neck when I was able to move. Like they sat me up, which probably wasn't a good idea because like I was able to move, and we just thought, oh yeah, he can move, so it's not a break.
Yeah.
And then like when I sat up, I had to lay back down because I was like the pain got horrendous. And then they got me to the hospital and was like, yeah, no, you've got a fracture in your C4 and C5.
Oh.
I was like, well, sitting up probably wasn't a good idea. But
Jesus.
yeah, no, like we all fully doubted that there was a break because I had full movement, full sensation in my hands and feet. Like there was there was no loss of sensation or movement or anything. Like, and
Man,
when you
that's
hear
extremely lucky, bro. Yeah, for sure.
like when you hear broken neck, you instantly associate it with with paraplegic, quadriplegic. You instantly assume that person their whole life has just been ruined.
But that's the thing. We always think about that worst case scenario option, right? Like we're talking about that before. Is like even like medical people, they tell you, oh, look, it's going to take you X amount of time, where it could almost in reality, like you could come back a lot. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying come back to wrestling, but you could recover like essentially a lot quicker than like the desired outcome that they're like putting out there to you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. Like, hopefully that is the case. Like, they've given me 12 months for recovery. I'd much prefer to be, back to health before that. But if that's not the case, if I do take the 12 months, well, so be it, I guess.
Yeah,
At the end of the day, I can still get up. I can still leave the house. I can still, I can do everything on my own still, for the most part. Like there's a few little things that I need help with at the moment, but for the most part, I'm still pretty independent, which I'm lucky with, I guess.
100%, man. And things I feel like are only going to get better and better for you, man, honestly. And I sincerely hope that for you, bro. Like from the bottom of my heart, man. I hope that you bounce back a lot quicker than 12 months, and I honestly feel that you will. Man, like as we just sort of start wrapping this up here, man, like I know there is a GoFundMe for you going, where it's like, man, like where people can go and donate. Where is that GoFundMe? Where can people go and contribute to that? And also, where can they go and follow you on social media and show some support and love there as well?
Yeah, so the GoFundMe, you'll find the link mostly on the Suplex page and my public page, which is just Benny the BackRower on Facebook, or Benny the BackRower 12 on Instagram. That's usually where you'll find it. It's been posted up there quite frequently on the Suplex page. So if you have a look around, I think there's a lot of other companies that have shared it as well. Like DMDU have shared it. They've been really good, actually. Because I was supposed to be a part of their dream tournament this year, they're going to still run a collector's card. Like that, they do it every year for their dream tournament for all the competitors. They get like a trading card made for them, and they're
cool.
still going to have one done of me for people to buy, and that money will be donated to me as well.
Oh, nice, man. That's good stuff. So we'll make sure to put that GoFundMe links in the description as well of this podcast on all the audio platforms and also the YouTube platform as well. But man, look, I appreciate you coming on, man. I appreciate you giving your time on a Friday night to come and shoot the shit with me. No pun intended there, Benny. But man, this has been a pleasure having you on, man. I appreciate your time. Thank you so much. Also, make sure wherever you are tuning in, make sure you like, share, subscribe, tap that bell, and tap in, because you know that the Piers Austin channel is bringing you some of the most interesting and entertaining conversations and podcasts in the fucking world. That's why we call it the greatest podcast in the world, baby. Shooting the shit uncensored. Check us out. Click those links. Till next time, take care. All the best. Peace.